All right. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Um, I hope we can get some video here. Okay, great. Thank you very much for this session, and thank you all for joining in from wherever you are. First of all, I hope we are all staying safe, and I hope we're all taking all necessary precautions, and we are social distancing. If we don't move, the virus don't does not spread. So let's stay where we are, and let's maintain the next 2 weeks. So I would like to welcome you to Green Innovation Talk, which is a flagship program of the Nigerian Climate Innovation Center to discuss opportunities and all the different advancement of innovation within the emerging green economy in Nigeria. Most of the things that we will cover, ranges from business models to product design to market understanding or segmentation, and also financial, intervention. Which brings us to the first, to our first guest for today. And our first guest for today is none other than the Chief Executive Officer of the Olon of Olon. Olon is an a social investment organization which is designed to find and also drive the growth of renewable energy across the country. But again, I'll let Weber, who is the CEO, Dr. Weber Burr, to also give us a little bit of explanation into what Olon does, and then I can jump into the next first question. Welcome, Weber. Nice to have you.
All right, you had muted me, so you have. It seems you have total control. All right, so
Thank you.
good afternoon, everybody.
Hmm.
Thank you, Bankole, for forcing me to shave this morning.
I mean, this could have been that you shaved. I mean, this is what you shaved. Then let's leave it at that.
No, I'm
All
trying
right.
to make my beard look like yours. So okay,
Oh no.
all right. So good afternoon, all. It's great to be with you. As Bankole said, I'm the CEO of All On. All On is a impact investment fund set up by Shell that invests in off-grid renewable energy companies across Nigeria. We also work to help build the ecosystem, etc., which is actually how we've come to work with Bankole's organization, the Nigeria Climate Innovation Center. So they're actually one of our grantees, and we're working very closely on trying to identify and incubate and develop the next generation of off-grid clean energy companies in Nigeria. Good enough?
Uh, okay. Yeah. So that is good enough. Thank you so much. That I mean, nobody could have said it better. Apart, apart from you, I guess I kept dilly dallying, all around the place. But I mean, COVID-19 is the word around the whole place. COVID-19 is affecting economies, is affecting businesses, is affecting health. Everybody, everything around us right now is being controlled largely by COVID-19. With this current global pandemic, green economy for us is something really that is that alternative economy that can drive the Nigerian, the growth of the whole Nigerian economy. And for us, we've been trying to drive the whole growth of green economy, through innovation, startups, and with your support, we've been seeing how some of these innovations have been scaling and and also growing up. I want to ask you, right, in this pandemic period, what are the chances for green economy? What do you think are the chances?
All right. So yeah, so good question. Normally innovation happens in times of crisis. That's
Mm-hmm.
when historically some of the greatest innovations have developed. And so I think we can be pretty confident that through what is happening now, we're going to see innovations on multiple levels in the green economy around the world. I wish I could predict what those are going to be, I can't necessarily at this point. But we know that some very interesting developments will happen. What we have seen though is through this process, through what is happening, and with so much, even what we're doing now. Normally, we would have all driven way out to Aja, to your village out
Mm-hmm.
there at the campus.
Oh,
We would
right,
have
nice
burnt
one.
we would have burnt fuel. We would have taken time. We would have, we actually would have burnt a lot of carbon, etc., and or emitted a lot of carbon just to get there, right? And now we're wherever we are. We're all doing this from our homes. We didn't take any energy basically to be part of this. We're not physically there, but we're all actually basically in contact with each other. And if nothing else, what's going to happen through what we're dealing with now is we're going to do a lot more of what we're doing right now, right? Which means the kind of non-green economy is going to take a very big hit.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we can predict. In addition, if you think of the fact that supply chains are broken right now, we can't get what
Yeah.
we normally get. I think there's a big opportunity right now in Nigeria for the circular economy, which is a subset of
True.
the green economy. If you're thinking of, oh, I needed to buy this new thing or that new thing, you're going to think again, okay, wait, maybe I could just use what I already have longer, or can I
Yeah.
innovate in a certain way to take
Mm-hmm.
something else I had and make it useful for something else.
Mm.
And I think we're going to have to make do with what we have rather than what we were planning to get. And I
Right.
think that also can have an impact going forward. And I think if the longer this lasts, the bigger of an impact that will be, that we'll actually just be a bit smarter about, okay, do we really need all those new things, and can we
Mm.
manage with what we have, or repurpose what we already have, or
Oh,
repurpose
good.
from what someone else has to what we have. And then finally, I think if you look at if supply chains break down, let's say there's no longer diesel delivery in Nigeria for some reason, then all of our whole country that's all run on diesel generators will break
Mm-hmm.
down, and everybody, no matter how rich and big you are, you won't have power because you don't have a generator operating. If you had
Right.
solar, if you had
Ah.
solar, it wouldn't matter, right? Because no matter what is happening, the sun is still shining.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an example where people will, if this is only a few weeks, it
Yeah.
won't make an immediate difference. But I think in people's psychology, there will be the
Mm-hmm.
sense like, wait, do I want to depend on a power source where there are other dependencies that I cannot control, or do I want to depend on a
Mm-hmm.
power source that once it's there, I control it? The sun is there, and it's not other supply chains that I'm dependent on. And I think that will have a huge psychological impact on future decision making in terms of, okay, when I'm setting up a new power system, do I
Mm-hmm.
go with the diesel generator, or do I go with solar? Now that I've seen what can happen in an emergency situation.
Okay. Wow, that was. I mean, it took us right from from non-green back to green, because one of the questions I kept having at the back of my mind was, how does this affect the renewable energy sector? I mean, you've
Mhm.
already given us a little bit of trend around it, but on a larger scale, do we see? Do we think that there might be a little shift in demand in terms of, from a positive side, on the renewable energy, sector, or do
Right.
we think that people might remain on the status quo?
Well, look, so I mean, I sort of alluded to that already in the last answer, but I think one thing right now is, if you look at the economics, because of global oil prices going down,
Yeah.
um, diesel and petrol costs are also going down, should be going down,
Mm-hmm.
which means that if you look at the short term, solar economics actually becomes more difficult, right? To
Mm-hmm.
to make the case that, okay, because you don't have to keep buying the input fuel, it usually gives you a break even much quicker than it would now, because prices are going down. So that
Mm-hmm.
could actually have a short term impact. If people are looking just at the economics, it might have a
Mm-hmm.
short term impact where people who are on the fence about, okay, let me move to solar. Once the economics is good, now they're going to say, well, look, we're back to low oil prices, so there's no point. So that's on the downside. On the upside, it's sort of what I was just saying. I think in people's mind, it's going to be, wait, I need to be more self-reliant, because okay, COVID is happening now. The sense we're getting is that there's going to be a series of shocks. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
something that is going to be a one-off. And
Yeah.
do I want to be sitting here in 6 months or a year when another one of these comes, if it comes, and worried
Mm-hmm.
about, okay, where am I going to get my diesel for the generator,
Mm-hmm.
either for my business or for my home? And that's where it's that psychology that I think is very important, because there is some kind of deep psychological attachment in Nigeria to generators
Mm-hmm.
and away from solar and renewables. And the assumption is that we know generators work, we've understood them, we've grown up with them. Um, Solar is something we
We're
don't
not sure.
understand. We're not sure. Most of the
Exactly.
solar projects we've seen have failed. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're unsure. But this is one where we're going to start seeing that psychology shift, that, okay, yes, I know a generator can work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a bit concerned about how much I can control it, and so let's actually make that shift now to solar.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. And then in that making that shift, I see that at the beginning of the whole COVID era, there've been quite a lot of interventions going on.
Mhm.
Private sector supporting here and there to build isolation centers, testing
Mhm.
centers. Even at the NCIC, we're working, we're deploying some advisory sessions around hacking for green, using solar. And then we saw that Olon came out with this very lovely intervention that got lots of people smiling. And then almost, I'm sure people must have clogged your emails trying to learn more around this intervention. But then, can you just
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about this intervention, right? Why did you think that
Right.
intervention was necessary? And then, what has the impact been so far?
Right. Well, look, I think again in times of crisis, as a company, and especially us as an impact focused company, the first thing
Mm-hmm.
you think about is how can we contribute, right? And many
Sure.
companies will look at it as, okay, let me just write a check or do whatever, and a typical corporation doesn't necessarily look at how can I respond within the sector that I actually operate in, right? So the typical response is, okay, I'm a big bank, I'm going to write a big check, and someone else will do the work.
Mm-hmm.
What they really should look at is, as a bank, how can I help as a bank? How can I,
Sure.
help the SMEs that bank with me? How can I help?
Okay.
So they actually don't think of it within their anyway. So we thought of it as we are an impact investor in off-grid energy in Nigeria. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
how can we help in the space that we are in? And so that's how we came up with the idea of, okay, look, all of these centers that are going up, these emergency health facilities, or
Yeah.
even some of them are new, some of them are basically existing health facilities that are being repurposed. All of
Mm-hmm.
them need power, right?
Yeah.
Now, some of them, if someone puts up a huge tent, okay, it's hard to you can't put solar power panels on a tent. In some cases it doesn't fit, but in most
Mm-hmm.
cases, solar can actually be a huge help to make the center operational very quickly, and again, so that
Mm-hmm.
the people in the center can worry about healing people and getting people better, and addressing the illnesses rather than worrying about diesel supply, right? And so that's kind of
Yeah.
what we thought of. Then we said, okay, look, we have a portfolio of 21 investees. Some of them are relatively
Mm-hmm.
small, and
Yeah.
we need to focus on the ones that we know already have the footprint, the technical footprint, that already have the equipment in country. Supply
Mm-hmm.
chains are broken,
Yeah.
and so we picked four that are really among the biggest. So that's Oxano, Arnergy,
Mm.
GVE, and Lumos.
Lumos.
And
Yeah.
we said, okay, look, these are all companies that already have equipment in country. They have footprints, in the key places that we need to operate. So let's work
Mm.
through them rather than the small companies that don't even may even now have to make an order from China, which we know could take a long time to get here.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, okay, these four companies, you guys now go out, because again, we didn't want 100 medical facilities coming to us. So we said, okay,
Yeah.
you four, you go out and find projects, and then we will
Mm-hmm.
fund them. And we put up, it's about 180 million naira, or $500,000.
Naira. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes. Yes.
it's not a it's some companies gave 1 billion and all that, but if you look at it relative to the size of our company, it's actually it's actually quite a big
Yes.
check. And so the idea is they find
Yes.
the medical facilities, they size the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. What do they need? 15 kilowatts. What do they need? 30? Who knows? And then they come to us and they said, this is the portfolio that we want you to fund. And then we've gone through that process. And so what it's done is it's provided business opportunities or work opportunities, for some of our bigger investees at a time when other jobs
Yeah.
that they were supposed to do probably got dropped for
Do.
the time
Yeah.
being,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
it keeps
True.
keeps them with some revenue and some cash flow, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, everything has been advised to them to say, look, whatever you do, always use the highest level of safety.
Safety. Yeah.
Don't put yourselves at risk and all that. So
Mm.
so the one is, okay, this gives them an opportunity to generate some revenue.
Mm.
Secondly, it highlights the importance of solar in a time like this. And I
Mm-hmm.
think part of, like what I was saying, to help with that psychological switch, that now
Yeah.
people are saying, oh, yes, you're right. In a time of emergency,
Emergency. Yeah.
solar
Mm-hmm.
is actually a solution that really makes sense. And does it make
Mm-hmm.
sense to dump a big generator everywhere, and then suddenly, the person running the operation has to spend their time sourcing diesel rather than healing people? So I think part of it also was, so it's
Yeah.
three things. One was, how can we help within the
Mm-hmm.
industry we're in? How can we create
Yeah.
business opportunities for our key investees to keep them
Yeah.
keep revenue flowing. But then also, how do we help use this as a way to create a psychological shift? And then, of course, most importantly, look, we're in the end, we're contributing to saving lives. And so all of those things are sort of the focus of it. So I
Great.
think that summarizes it.
Yeah, but can you share a little bit of the kind of impact that has happened? Do you have an idea of which of these centers that they have they have supported? Can you share a little bit?
So there is a so Oxano Solar. They were the sort of fastest out the door. They've already basically installed at the National Orthopedic Hospital in Igbobi. So the hospital is already on solar and operational since Friday. Like, so they,
wow.
Oxano, those guys are I don't know if they're on this call, but
those guys are always on some of that speed, right?
The COO there, Chooks, is going to be I think Nigeria's first solar billionaire. So
amen. With the way he's going, right?
Yeah. And then so that's ongoing. Then Arnergy was yesterday installing at the Nigerian Institute for Medical Research. So a lot of these medical facilities that have other purposes are being repurposed for isolation centers or testing centers. And so the NIMR is where Arnergy was installing yesterday. I need to check in with them on whether it's completed. And then there's a couple of others in Lagos. Arnergy is going to also help with power at the Landmark Center, where there's a bunch of there's a coalition of private players that are kind of putting together an isolation center there. There's one that's being done at University College Ibadan. One at the Kaduna Infectious Disease Center. One at the River State Isolation Center, and then one at the Enugu State Isolation Center. So they're a bit scattered all over.
Wow.
And then Lumos, because Lumos is much smaller. They're 80-watt boxes, so those are going to be basically used in more kind of remote public health facilities or NCDC emergency operational centers. Because even though it's only 80 watts, if you're running a small operational center, which is probably just a room, all you need is you need a laptop or two charged, you need a few lights, you need a phone charged, maybe a fan. And so a Lumos box can then be used for that, because it can be deployed. You basically just show up there, put it up, and it's ready to go in like 5 minutes. So that's the one that will then be spread all over the country. Yeah.
Right. Can you put an estimate to the possible kind of lives that this could have just saved? Is there a chance you could put an estimate to, if we really look at the kind of projections that NCDC is putting out there, and which you're supporting, from testing centers to isolation centers, do you kind of have an idea of possible kind of lives, this whole project will have just saved?
It's hard to say, and I mean, obviously, we can't say that our solar installation is what saved the lives, right? What saved the lives is the healthcare workers who were there risking their own lives to do this. But look, each of these isolation centers are meant for like 50 to 100 people at a time. So you can do the math. I mean, it should hopefully save thousands. But I think more importantly, let's shine. I mean, the solar power is a support to enable the work that is the most important.
All right, great. Okay, thank you so much. I mean, that was quite some elaborate, effort within the time being of when the announcement came in, and the impact that is currently been happening. But again, in the next we have another 2 weeks, and this is probably like day one of lockdown 2.0, right? Or day two rather. What would you say would be your guide to, if you're trying to tell other, renewable energy from innovators to SMEs, how do you think many of them can stay alive in the next 2 weeks? What do you think they should do?
Yeah. No, I mean, and by stay alive, I think you mean their businesses operate, not.
Yes, not them. No, not people, please, not people.
All right. Well, to stay alive, you need to be safe, right? So that's important. Look, I mean, so for Lagos State, so the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria worked with the Commissioner of Energy to get a waiver for off-grid energy companies to be able to operate, basically saying, yes, they're not discos, but they're providing power, which is an essential service at this point. So there's a whole list of, it was a list of like 50 renewable energy or off-grid energy companies that actually have a waiver and can actually continue to operate during this period in spite of the shutdown. So that's important. Now, obviously, part of that is then to maintain the systems that are already in place. It's not likely that a business right now is going to say, oh, let's do a solar contract. Can you go please install this? But I think,
No.
what they need to do is to position themselves to say, look, these solar products that we have are the perfect thing you need, at home to ensure, business continuity and just to ensure kind of basic comfort at home. And so it could actually be a time when some of those types of installations get approved faster, and
Hmm.
customers who are thinking, oh, let me put off the solar decision till 2 years from now or a year from now are now thinking, okay, look, I don't, again, same thing, I don't want to run around looking for diesel. Can I call these guys that, in a day or
Hmm.
two, that I could have a solar system that actually makes me, kind of independent of the supply chains around me? So I think they need to position
Yeah.
themselves in that way. um, I don't know if the waiver was, if Rian was also able to get a waiver in Abuja. And then obviously,
I don't think so. I
yeah,
didn't get that. I didn't get that information. I don't think
yeah,
they were able to get anything.
yeah. And then obviously, as soon as you need to now cross borders and in operations all over Nigeria, right? But if
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
of your inventory is, say, in Lagos
Mm.
or FCT, even if you get a waiver,
Hmm.
how far is it even safe to now be traveling around to do all these
Yeah.
installations? So
Yeah.
it's important to, I think, keeping safe probably is priority. And then
Hmm.
secondly is, okay, where it is possible, I think push the narrative of this kind of protects you from, it gives you energy independence at a time when that's really important.
Hmm. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Weaver. We just have about 5 more minutes, and we promised you 30 minutes, and 30 minutes it is. We've got one question. We know that there's a there's a due diligence process that Olon takes the businesses that they work with. I mean, I'm a partner already. I know how we have to go through that process to be able to work with you. But then other businesses are asking, they are based in other parts of the country. How do you think they can also feature within this intervention that Olon has come through? Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yes,
right.
please.
Yeah, listen, so we can you hear me now? Okay. So I
Yes,
think,
clearly.
we've got a number of our investees, and yeah, there's been a number of our other investees and other companies that have reached out and said, okay, look, can we also get funding to do, we there's a health clinic or something like that we're going to power. When you're doing an initiative like this, you need to keep it as simple as you can, to
Mm-hmm.
ensure success. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, we picked the four investees that we have, that we know already have the scale of operation and the inventory that they can deliver quickly, right? And so, unfortunately, it's only those four for now. And they're all delivering, and they're all out there. Plus, 180 million naira, it actually it runs out relatively quickly when you have
Quickly, yeah.
solar installations in 10, 15, 20 places. You max it
Mm-hmm.
out pretty quickly. So for now it's just those four. and
Okay.
and and we watch and see. And yeah, so that's just the reality. So
Okay, yeah. But are there any other matching funders also trying to work with you
mhm.
around this
Okay,
model?
yes, actually, yes. So I mean, we found, we moved quite early to do this. So the U.S. Africa Development Foundation,
Okay.
which does the co-investment on the angel stage,
Mm-hmm.
investments we do. And I think some of those companies may be on here.
Mm-hmm.
They actually have a portfolio of about 120 energy companies across Africa, not just Nigeria, across
Mm.
Africa. And so they
Wow.
actually, it's, the president of USADF and I used to be colleagues at Rockefeller Foundation. So he joked with me when
Mm-hmm.
he saw our initiative. He's like, "Weba, I'm going to copy this exactly the same, and take it not as that I'm copying you and stealing your idea, but that I'm
I'm
tailing
telling
you."
you.
And we're
I'm
actually
just
fine
telling
with
you
that.
ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So we're fine with that, because that means that there's additional opportunities. So um, you know, Oxano and GVE are actually both USADF investees also.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
eligible for that one as well. But then it also means there's a number of
Mm-hmm.
others like Ice Power and so on,
Mm.
that then can propose under that one.
Yeah.
There's also been a notification from the World Bank, basically calling
Mm-hmm.
on on all solar installers that have inventory and capability, operational capability right now. To
Yeah.
basically, I think there's a link they have to register on, so that I
Okay.
imagine what it means is
The
that then
World
the
Bank
World Bank
one.
will come back to them and say, okay, look, you indicated that you're in this location and you can do this type of installation. Here's a portfolio for you to
Yeah.
work on, and then they work out something. I don't know what the the terms will be.
What the model will
Um,
look like for.
yeah, but at
Okay.
least
Okay.
there's others out there. So the USADF one, which I think has a larger number of companies involved, and then the
Okay.
World Bank one is still being put in place. But at least, you know, based on their desire to secure that information, it shows that they're going to look at it as at a pretty big scale.
Okay, great. Just one little quick one about that waiver you mentioned. Someone is asking, is that waiver available, or is it a thought, or is it a waiver that's already been announced?
Yeah, it was a letter that was signed by the permanent secretary of the Lagos Energy Commission or Energy Ministry. So I think,
Oh,
and it
okay.
was the
Energy
Renewable
Ministry.
Energy Association that actually helped make it happen. So I think if anyone is on here, they should reach out to Rian,
Okay, Rian.
and then say, because there were even companies that got the waiver were companies that weren't even members of Rian. They basically looked quite holistically. Even generator companies, for example, were included on the
Mm-hmm.
list, even though it was Rian that kind of negotiated it. Um, so I think they should reach out to Rian, and then see if they can be added.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Weaver. We've taken 30 minutes of your time as we promised, and we promise
All
we're going
right.
to let it be a little, later than that. And we want to thank you for your time. For having to have this time to have, to share this knowledge, with us. And we hope to come back to you in the coming weeks with a few more development post COVID. Thank you very much, and do
All right.
have a very I don't know how to say this. I mean, Yoruba we greet in so many things. So I don't know how to greet you on the COVID part. But then please stay safe. I hope to see you soon.
Okay. So
Thank you very
nagode
much.
danua.
And
To
now
sanjama.
go to I guess kai go kari. Now go there.
To
So
na
say what I
nagode
like
sosai.
tonight.
To
So
sanjama mutane. Okay.
now go there. Now go there.
Sanjama.
All
Sanju
right. So
san.
everybody,
Bye.
thank you so much. Thank you, Weaver, for your time. For those that we could not be able to pick your questions, some of those questions are not particularly related to how to what we were kind of explain, because this is focused more around renewable energy innovation. And next week we have a little, we'll have something related to this, but a lot more also focused around the environmental impact of COVID and what is the turning point for most of the companies, within the green space. Thank you very much, and please follow all of our, social media handles and our website, nigeriacic.org, and you can follow us on Nigeria, Nigeria at Nigeria CIC on Instagram and Twitter, and then you can get a little bit more information about what we do. Thank you very much, everybody. Please stay safe, and we will see you next week. Cheers. Bye bye.
Thank you for watching this edition of Green Innovation Talk with Mr. Banks. For more videos, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notification button. Cheers.